We're going to run our Xamarin Forms app on Windows. Our solution has 4 projects in it. There's the shared code and then the 3 head projects. Our goal here, of course, is to run the Windows version. Let's say we're developing here on this Windows machine. When we run, we can run our Windows UWP app directly on that local machine. And that'll let us test our app on the screen size and resolution of our development machine. We can also run a simulator, a Windows simulator on our local machine if we wanted to test other screen sizes and pixel densities. Another option is to download a different software emulator, install it on our local machine to test on things like HoloLens. We can also connect to a remote machine. That's how we would test on something like Xbox. And finally, we could even connect a physical device to our development machine to test on that. But our goal is to run on the local machine here. So let's go over to Visual Studio and see how to do that. Here I am in Visual Studio, and right now I have the Android project set as the startup, and you can see the standard toolbar here reflects that. So the first thing I want to do is set the UWP project as my startup. As soon as I do that, the standard toolbar is going to change its content. You can see now it says local machine. When I run this, the thing that's going to actually start execution is the UWP project, not the shared code over here that contains all the Xamarin Forms specific stuff. So behind the scenes, what goes on is we get an instance of the UWP app class created for us by Windows. And if I open this up and scroll down a bit, find the onLaunched method. And there's one line in here I want to show you. That line right there, Xamarin Forms init, that's the thing that forwards control from the UWP startup code over to the Xamarin Forms shared UI. So with that line of code right there, we leave the UWP side of things and end up over here in the Xamarin Forms code. And over here, we get an instance of a class called app created for us automatically. And by the way, it's just a coincidence that the class over here is named app and the one in UWP is also named app. Those are separate and distinct things. If I open this up here, you can see there's this class app and it has a constructor which sets the main page property. Whatever we put into main page, that's what the user sees. And in this case, it's a class also named main page, which is part of the starter template. And it's defined right over here in these 2 files. The user interface is defined in a markup language called XAML. So if I open up this page right there, you can see I have a label that just displays some text. So the startup sequence, again, begins over in the UWP app, then goes to the app class in the shared code, which then loads main page for us. So I'm going to go ahead and run this again here on the local machine. And we can see the text there of the label. If I drop down this little disclosure arrow here, next to where it says local machine, this is where those other options I mentioned show up. So I could launch the simulator here on this machine to test other form factors. I could connect to a remote machine. I could connect to a device that's attached to my local machine, or I could even download new software emulators if I wanted to test on something like HoloLens. But again, in my experience, the most common thing is to run on the local machine. That gives you the quickest change your code, build, and test cycle. So that's what we're going to stick with.